Jesus Castro took a sack full of scrap metal to sell by the kilo that was given to him in a house where he collected the debris. But when he weighed it, the owner of the junkyard saw some serial numbers that seemed abnormal. What would happen later would change their lives. Here it is, great story. Jesus Castro, originally from Chiapas, went to the state of Puebla when he was 12 years old because the need to work led him to make this difficult decision. Like many, he started as a day laborer and that's how he stayed. Until he was 20 years old, he became a bricklayer's apprentice and there he would learn very well. In this job, really, all the money he sent was sent to his parents in sheets because they were grown up, they were weaving artisans, although they had already collected over the years to buy their little cabin. The situation would change for them because they only had Jesus and 2 more daughters. They would get married soon and they would no longer help them create their crafts, and on top of that came unfair competition because many crafts that came from China were pure cheap copies of fabrics, but people bought them from them because they were cheap, so little by little the business began to grow. It was ending and the years were already weighing on them and they hardly manufactured anything. Only pure requests from clients who valued manual and artisanal work. So the money that Jesus sent them helped them quite well. Jesus, after 10 years as a bricklayer, the time came when he met a girl who sold jewelry in the center. She told him to leave that job and that they should start a business between the two of them because she had already learned a lot about jewelry and had good suppliers and clients of silver and gold. And Jesus had also learned from boy to forge and handle amber well. In Chiapas a lot is produced and they make a lot of crafts and jewelry with it. Since he was a child, he helped his parents weave necklaces. Crafts with amber, this also encouraged him. Well, together they would do a good business. Soon they rented a small local in the center and with only 5,000 pesos they started their small business. Jesus sent for real amber from plates and made Ingots necklaces, bracelets with silver and small gold inlays. He barely had a small demonstrator with just 30 pieces. Little by little they were getting ahead. They had been selling for 3 years and their business was prospering because the way they worked with amber plus their wife's ability to negotiate and sell made them good merchants. One day the owner of the premises arrived because he had rented them a small space in a very old house. And big in the downtown area because that whole house with a front of 30 they adapted it for businesses. In total there were 15 businesses, but the owner still continued to live in the back of that house. It was so big that it reached to the other side of the block, and right there he would begin to knock down walls and adapt himself for more business. One day he asked Jesus if he could do him a favor and help him carry a piece of debris that he had back there. This did not seem like this to Jesus at first, but since he was a very good person and he didn't know how to say that he didn't agree to help them because he saw how only 2 of them were removing a lot of rubbish that they couldn't handle. Jesus had already taken a truck with about 15 sacks when on the other side of the big house he saw other sacks but full of scrap metal and old iron was actually a lot. He approached the owner and told him that if he wanted to get rid of all that scrap he knew about a junkyard that bought everything by the kilo and paid very well for it. The owner had not paid attention to that scrap because he could see that he had been there for years. He even said that he had been there since he built the first stores, but he didn't have time to take them to the kilo. After the truck returned, they now began to upload all the scrap metal between bags of old iron, tires, wires, shelves, etc. Little by little when they arrived to the junkyard all that metal begins to go down, but there was a moment when passing through the scale everything Jesus put a sack of old metal. No one knew what it was, but the buyer always made sure it was really metal, not another type of plastic or anything else. He searches that sack and takes out a very compact piece of metal. At first he thought it was like lead or something like that, but he started looking at a serial number and this seemed very strange. Jesus was also attentive and watching. He takes another heavy block and it also has a serial number. Later the owner takes a rag and begins to clean that block of metal. It shines so much that he would be impressed by what he saw because the legend of pure sterling silver clearly said this was what Jesus saw. He walked that entire sack right there and about 25 bars or ingots came out, all of silver. He put his hands to his head. How was it possible that they were there mixed up with all that scrap? He didn't understand it. He just put them back and quickly left there. He told the man that he would then return through the payment. He left him quickly, went to the owner as best he could under that sack. And he told him, look, sir, what he was going to sell per kilo in the scrap metal. He showed him the ingot already clean. That man went back. Well, remember that metal was in a warehouse that his father had, which they threw away and that he never thought it was silver. Well, she was all dirty. He told her that his father was an impulsive hoarder and had a lot of hardware, cars, engines, and he didn't want to throw anything away. He was already 5 years old and had rejole all that. He also remembers that his father bought a lot of money and melted it down because he said that one day the money it would be worth a lot. But in reality I never found out how much money he had accumulated, commented the owner. His conscience may have told him to share all that money with Jesus. Well, he was the one who discovered it and was loyal to him, so he shared half of it. Of all those ingots, now Jesus had 12 ingots of pure silver which he worked and made artisanal wonders along with the amber. Today he imports almost all of his craftsmanship to the United States and part of Europe thanks to the simplicity and humility of continuing to help and contribute. Whoever Jesus needed, he soon set up a large manufacturing workshop in his own house. This happened in 2007, and this great story was sent to us by Raul Ramirez, who is a trusted jeweler and craftsman of the Jesus factory. If you like this great story, please give us a like to this and our new pages that are true legends, and you didn't know where you will find the links below in the description. Thank you very much. See you soon.